Hello student, I am Professor Vaibhav Rahins. Today we will discuss about the law of gearing, that is part of the first unit in Pune University syllabus. No. Before start, what is the law of gearing or what is the statement for the law of gearing? First of all, we will derive the equation for the law of gearing. Then we will discuss about what is the law of gearing, what is the statement for the law of gearing, and what's its applications of the law of gearing. Let's start. For a law of gearing, we consider there are two gears with a center O1 and O2. Consider two gears with center O1 and O2. Suppose this is the teeth of first gear and its center is O1 and this is a tooth of second gear with center O2. If now this is the point of contact when two teeth are meet with each other at a point A. We let mark it as a point A. Now we will mark here as A. Now draw a common tangent which is passes through the point A. Let's mark it as a T. How we will draw? We draw one line which is passing through the point A and which is tangent at a point A, which is called as a common tangent to two teeth. Okay. Now draw a line passing through the point A and which is perpendicular to the line TT. Mark it as a N and N be the common normal at a point of contact. If we consider this gear with a center O1 is rotate in this direction with angular velocity omega 1, then due to this gear will rotate with angular velocity omega in opposite direction. Okay. Now draw a line which is passing through the point A or which is from point O2 and which is perpendicular to line N dash. How can we draw this line in this way? And here we get a point B. How we obtain the point B? We draw a one line which is passing through the point O and which is perpendicular to line N dash. Similarly, we draw another line which is perpendicular to N dash and which is passing through the point O1. And let's mark it at the point C, which is perpendicular to N dash and passing through the point O1. We obtain the point B and C. How we obtain the point B and C? We draw one line which is passing through the point O2 and which is perpendicular to the common normal N. Similarly, we draw a line which is passing through the point O1 and which is perpendicular to N. Okay. Now join a point O1 to A. We will join this line by dotted line and mark this angle between O1 to A and O1 to C as a alpha. Similarly, join the point O2 to A. How we are joining this line? O2 to A, and mark the angle between O2A to O2B as a theta. We get the angle theta, which is in between line O2A and O2B. Now let's consider one concept. If point, this is a point P and which is rotated along this center O, means the point P is rotating along with center O in this manner, and if this is the radius of this circle, suppose point O, P is rotating in this direction with angular velocity omega, then velocity of the point P, the direction of this velocity which is perpendicular to the point P, this is the direction of the velocity. How we obtain the direction of velocity of the point P? The direction of the velocity of the point P which is perpendicular to the radius. If we consider this point, this is a position 1, if we consider the point P is at a position P2, then if we consider this is the velocity V1, velocity will be remain constant, this is the velocity. If we consider this point is moved from point here to here, then the direction of this velocity is in this way. Similarly, if this point is at this position, then direction of the velocity will be this. If we another consider, if this point is at this position, then the velocity is along this. Means what? The direction of this velocity is always perpendicular to the radius of this circle. Means the point is moving at any center, then velocity's direction is perpendicular to its radius. Okay, and magnitude of this velocity will be radius into angular velocity. Okay, this similar concept we need to apply here. If we want the velocity of the point A with respect to center O1, means if we consider the point A and the radius is O1 to A, then we need to draw this, and this is the V1. V1 is the velocity of the point A with respect to center O1. Okay, now similarly the velocity of the point A with respect to center O2, we can draw this in this way. This is we call as the V2. Now draw a perpendicular line. If we draw this perpendicular line here and mark this point, this is a point C, this is a point D, this point is called as the point E, and this point is called as the F. Okay, now this angle alpha is with V1 to normal. Similarly, this is the angle alpha and this is the angle theta here. Now let V1 be the velocity of point A with respect to O1. V1 be the velocity of the point A with respect to O1. V2 be the velocity of point A with respect to O2. Means velocity V1 is velocity of point A with respect to O1. V2 be the velocity of the point with respect to O2 of point A. Now consider component of velocity V1 along n end is equal to the component of this velocity V1 along this normal is AD. What is the component of velocity? The component of this velocity along this line is AD, and if we consider the triangle ADE, AD is equal to V1 into cos of alpha. V1 into cos of alpha. Similarly, component of velocity V2 along n is equal to also AD. The component of this velocity along the normal AD along normal NN will be the AD, and it is given by V2 into cos of theta. Understood? The value of AD we obtain from the triangle ADF in this triangle, and AF is the equal to V2. Okay. Now when two gears are meeting with each other and they transmitting the motion, if we consider this gear 1 is meshing with the gear 2 and transmitting the motion from this gear to this gear, for this purpose the component of velocities along n should be the same. Means what? For a velocity, the component of velocity V1 along nn equal to component of velocity V2 along nn, means V1 cos of alpha is equal to V2 cos of theta. How? While transmitting the motion of one gear to the another gear, for this purpose the velocity component of these two gears, their point of contact should be equal. That's why V1 cos of alpha is equal to V2 cos of alpha, and we know that V is equal to R omega. That's why V1, what is R for V1? For V1, R is equal to O to A. Therefore O1 to A into omega 1 into cos of alpha is equal to, for a V2, R is equal to O2 to A. Therefore O2 into A into omega 2 into cos of theta. Okay. Now in triangle O1 AC, in triangle O1 AC, if we consider the cos of alpha, here cos of alpha means O1 to A is a hypotenuse, means adjacent side for alpha is O1 to C. Therefore cos of alpha is equal to O1 to C divided by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is O1 to A. Therefore here is O1 to A. cos of alpha is equal to this. Similarly, in triangle O2AB, in triangle O2AB, cos of theta is equal to adjacent side for a theta is O2B. Therefore here we will get O2B divided by O2A. If we put the value of cos of alpha and cos of theta in this equation, we mark as this equation 1. If we put this value in equation 1, we will get O1A into omega 1 into O1C divided by O1A is equal to O2B. V2 is equal to O2A into omega 2 into O2B divided by O2A. Here O1A will get cancelled, O2A and O2A will get cancelled, and we will get omega 1 into O1C is equal to omega 2 into O2B. If we take this omega 1 upon omega 2 is equal to O2B upon O1C. Mark this as equation 2. Okay, now if we consider before this join O1 to O2, if we join O1 to O2, we will get a point P. Point P is intersection of line O1 O2 and N. How we will obtain the point P? Point P is the intersection of the line NN and O1 O2. Okay, now consider triangle O1PC and triangle O2TB. Triangle O1PC and triangle O2PB, both triangle are similar. Both are similar triangle, and if we apply the property of similar triangle, then we will get O2P divided by O1P is equal to O2B divided by O1C is equal to PB divided by PC. If we take the ratio of this will be the similar, and this is the property of similar triangle. By using this property of similar triangle, we mark it as equation 3. Okay. From equation 2 and 3 we will get omega 1 upon omega 2 equal to omega 1 upon omega 2 equal to O2p divided by O1p equal to O2b divided by O1c equal to Pb divided by Pc. This is the equation number 4. If we put the value of equation 3 and equation 4 together, we will get this equation, and this equation is called as the law of gearing. For a simplification, if we write omega 1 upon omega 2 is equal to O2p upon O1p. From this equation, we mark it as the equation 5. From equation 5, if we see that the ratio of angular velocity, here is omega 1 is on denominator and numerator and omega 2 is at the denominator, means the ratio of angular velocity of the two gear is inversely proportional. Here is omega 1, O1 is here. Therefore, the ratio of angular velocities of two gear is inversely proportional. The ratio of angular velocity of the two gear is inversely proportional to the distance of point P from two centers. Means what? The ratio of angular velocity is inversely proportional to the distance of point P from center O2 to center O1, and this is called as the law of gearing. If we consider in word, the law of gearing is state that if we draw a common normal to the two gears, it will pass through the point P, and point P is called as the pitch point. This is the statement for the law of gearing. We will once again define the statement of law of gearing. The statement of law of gearing is state that when we draw a common normal at a point of contact, it will always pass through the pitch point, and this is the statement for the law of gearing, and this statement is useful for designing of the profile of the gear. Okay, this is the most important application of this law of gearing is when we will design the gear profile. The gear profile should be satisfy this equation, and when this equation will satisfy, the gear will be work properly. These are the applications of the law of gearing.